Hi everybody, welcome to another video of Game of Thrones Academy. Hi Itamar.
Hi.
As usual, we're gonna look at A Song of Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones through the lens of real history and real politics. And stay tuned for our bold prediction later in this video. Today we're gonna talk about civil wars. So, what do you think is the most important thing we need to understand about civil wars?
There is this recurrent question
Okay.
in sociology and political science in which they ask what holds society together,
Okay.
and where are the establishments that holds power, what makes people loyal to this power, what prevents people to kill each other, basically.
So let's look at Westeros. What holds this society together? To
Basically,
begin with.
what holds Westeros together is the idea of power that derives from blood,
From blood, right?
tradition, religion, loyalty,
Name also.
name, loyalty to name. And when we believe that and accept that, society holds together. But now we're seeing that these things that holds the society together are not that strong. But basically, power is an agreed upon concept. People agree to conform to this power,
Right.
and they agree not to rebel against this power.
And Varys also talks about that, right, in the show.
Yeah, when it gives this riddle where power resides. Does it reside with the religious man, with the king, or with the sellsword?
Right.
And the answer is basically where does power reside? Where people believe it resides.
Okay. So it's
And
not
their
necessarily-
beliefs are changing during the course of history.
Right.
They are changing. No one is stuck with one belief in a
And
long
today,
term.
where does power reside today?
In money and in force, in strong, like in practical force, who holds
Right.
the monopoly on power. And the use of force is the most powerful individual or establishment there is.
And you can see in the stories also two competing views about what is power. Littlefinger tells Cersei, knowledge is power, and she answers, power is power. So who of them is right?
They are both right and both wrong.
Oh.
In the certain scene that this took place, Cersei is right,
Of
because
course.
I hold the power. Power is swords. I will tell this guy with the sword to kill you. He will kill you.
Okay.
But Littlefinger is also right, because knowledge can give you power. It can give you power to play with the other players without
Right.
them knowing what you know.
Right.
And if we establish a society like we have today, a specialist society in which knowledge in a certain area gives you a lot of power.
So how come the society of Westeros is deteriorating into civil war?
I take as a guide, or I
Okay.
took as a guide to understand the situation of Westeros,
Okay.
one of the greatest philosophers, political, and practically the father of political science,
Okay.
Thomas Hobbes.
Okay.
He lived through one of the biggest civil war in English history,
Okay.
and he described the natural condition of man as an all-out war, a war of all against all.
Everybody's fighting everybody.
The basic condition of man
Right.
is an all-out war against each other, dog eat dog if you want,
Okay.
even though dogs not necessarily eat each other, but let's say.
You can see that in Westeros, you have the Tyrells against the Lannisters, against the Tullys, against the Starks, and the Vale, and everybody's against everybody, and everybody wants to get up.
And so Hobbes looked at the history of England and lived through a civil war
Okay.
and prescribed a solution to end the civil war,
Which is?
which is the concept of the Leviathan.
What is that?
Leviathan is a mythical creature from the Bible.
Right, right.
In the book of Job, he's like the killer of the children of pride. Like he's this strong figure. He identified the Leviathan with the sovereign. The sovereign
Okay.
needs to have monopoly on the use of force.
Right.
And everyone that sees themselves as a contender to hold power
Mm-hmm.
need to give up their freedoms,
And their
their ambitions, and give the sovereign their power in order to
To be
live
safe.
in a society that protects them from a violent death.
Where do you see this Leviathan in A Song of Ice and Fire? Do you have any examples for that Leviathan?
When I read it, I thought about the dragons as this kind of sort of a Leviathan, like a mythical creature, killer of the pride. You know,
Right.
when Aegon came to Westeros,
This foreign guy
this
coming
foreign
in.
guy with his dragons, you know, the Lannisters wanted to fight in the field of blood, the field of
Yeah.
fire, you know,
Right, right.
with the pride. What makes you rule me?
Yeah.
Who are you? You know, I want the power for myself. So he used dragons, and then one of the northern kings, I can't remember, kneeled and bent the knee to Aegon because he saw the killer of the children of pride
Right,
live in front of him.
right.
And this is a recurrent condition of men. We are programmed
Right,
as a
right.
species to live in small societies, in small communities. If you make the communities bigger, you need a uniting idea that prevents us to kill each other, basically.
Okay, it's not working all that well anyways.
It does work. The idea of an all-out war was demonstrated very nicely with the Dance of Dragons.
Okay.
Because when everyone had a dragon or a leviathan of their own, they
Right.
couldn't agree on a one leviathan to kill all the other children of pride, so they fought
Okay.
between themselves,
Okay.
killed the leviathan
Killed the
that held the society and the monarchy together, and then they declined into 100 years, 150 years of recurrent civil wars. Every generation another
And
civil
then the
war
Targaryens-
and rebellion.
The Targaryen line ended.
So Robert became this Leviathan, but he didn't create the Leviathan inside the institution of the monarchy.
Right.
So when he died, the other small fishes wanted to become a Leviathan in their own.
Balon Greyjoy.
Balon Greyjoy suddenly, you know, and Stannis and everyone fights, and Renly said,
Renly.
Renly.
Even though I'm not
from
the eldest.
nowhere, if I'm not, I have
Yeah,
no claim,
okay.
but I hold power, a certain power, so I can claim to be a ruler myself. Like the great John Umber,
Okay.
who said when he coronated Rob,
Yeah, yeah.
he said,
It was the dragons we bowed to. And now the dragons are dead.
so I will kneel to my own king,
Yeah.
to my old proud
smaller
child-
community.
child of pride, in smaller community,
Okay.
with my more national identity. There was a reason Hobbes prescribed this idea of a Leviathan, of a strong monarch, of a
Okay.
strong sovereign, of an absolute sovereign. The
Well,
Assad regime in Syria. We don't like Assad, you know, he's a cruel dictator, but look what happened when you remove the Leviathan. All the small fish want to take power of their own. When the fighting will stop, it will be the moment there will be a Leviathan that will annihilate all the small fish and take the power for himself.
Right.
And Hobbes lived through it. He saw what what happened to England when they removed the monarch. He lived through one of the civil wars that transformed England into a short-term republic and an execution of a king. And he saw what happens when there is no unifying idea, a unifying Leviathan. It doesn't need to be a king even,
Okay.
but a sovereign who holds the power and holds the monopoly on the use of force, which is the state, the modern state that we live in today.
Okay, and if we look outside Westeros to find this Leviathan, let's say if we go to the free cities, what is the Leviathan? Who holds the power in the free cities?
Is the city-state, the idea of city-state.
So the city itself is
the city-state is a Leviathan itself, but a city is a small community, so it's different.
And it's easier to rule a
And it's
city
easier
than a
to rule,
kingdom.
yeah,
Seven
you-
kingdoms.
Mhm.
Okay, and if you go, maybe let's go to the Dothraki. Who holds the power in the Dothraki system of government?
And there is no system of government in the Dothraki.
No, there is, but
The
it's
Thrakis is the society Hobbes described as an all-out war between everybody,
simple. Okay.
in which the strongest individual that can create fear of violent death,
Mhm.
he holds basically the power.
And when
When he weakens,
Drogo dies,
when he becomes weak, he's replaced.
yeah, no,
Right.
it falls apart. You have a few cults, everyone takes
Yeah.
their own part. Okay, and in Slaver's Bay, we can say that the people who hold the power are the nobles, their nobility, the caste masters, the slavers, and the wildlings. They have an interesting take on who holds the power, right?
But they live in small communities. You can't actually say you have a society of wildlings.
What about
because they're
Mance?
spread out. Mance was able to unite them because he had a common enemy.
Right, that's the
A
only reason
direct threat
of annihilation.
and a violent death. So he was able to kill all the children of pride that
Right.
contested his power because he said, "You will not have me, you will have violent death."
Okay, very
An
interesting.
enemy, an outside enemy, is the best thing to hold society together.
We know this for sure here. Okay, so this is a. So let's go to this video's bold prediction. Okay, so if you look at the story through the lens of history and Leviathan and civil war, what do you think will happen?
I see a civil war that will end all civil wars, at least for another 100 or 150 years. When you
Because-
look at history, the War of the Roses was a sort of a civil war.
And that's the starting point of the story.
Up until England became the monarchy that is today, which is a constitutional monarchy, and that the
Okay.
ruler doesn't identify himself with the state, but the state is outside the ruler. The state is the Leviathan. The state became the Leviathan.
So you think that will happen in
It would have to
story?
happen in order to prevent another proud lord that looks at the king and says, I can do a better job than him. I will replace him.
Okay.
Like, etc., etc., etc. It's a recurrent theme in history.
In history, yeah.
A recurrent theme in history. You need an institution, a lasting institution that doesn't depend on one person.
Right.
In a longevity of a one person, but an institution that holds together the society and bring all the other players and the small fish who wants to be the Leviathan themselves. They need to kill their pride,
Yeah, take them
hold
down a
them
notch.
down, take them down a notch, and then you have a stability in a nice society, a utopia like we live today.
Okay, so if you think Westeros needs a different thing and not a Leviathan, be sure to comment down below. If you enjoyed the video, of course, click like, and be sure to check out our Facebook page and Twitter account right here, and subscribe to get our next video, and we'll see you next time. Bye everybody, thanks for watching.